English grammar mistakes to avoid in communications. English grammar is an important part of communication, but it can lead to mistakes that you don't even notice. For example, we've all said I could care less instead of I couldn't care less, and if you weren't aware of this mistake, you might think that it was correct. However, it's far from the only one like this in English, so here are some common examples of errors that you might have made, as well as how to avoid them in the future. Verb-subject agreement. Using too many modifiers before verbs is another easy to overlook English grammar error, also known as a dangling modifier. Here's an example. Before leaving for work today, I quickly ate breakfast and put on my shoes. In sentences like these, make sure that your modifier clearly and correctly identifies what or who you mean. Using were when you mean was is another common English grammar mistake. For example, consider these two sentences. Last year, I was a student and I worked part-time. This year, I am a student and I work part-time. In both cases, you're talking about yourself as one person, I, but with different roles, students versus worker. Pronoun antecedent agreement. Pronouns and antecedents must agree. If a noun is singular, its pronoun should be to. Likewise for plural nouns and pronouns. When a pronoun and an antecedent share one of three grammatical categories, person, number, or gender, the pronoun must match that category as well. If an antecedent is first person plural, we, then a pronoun should be as well, e.g., we. Likewise, if an antecedent is third person plural, they, then their pronoun should also be third person plural, e.g., they. A mismatch will often create confusion for readers or listeners about which noun you are referring to, so it's best avoided by keeping them matched up correctly from the start. Word modifiers. One common grammar mistake is confusing who and whom. Technically, they have different uses, but many people mix them up. For example, while who wants soup makes sense, whom do you love doesn't. Both sentences sound strange because we're not used to using whom, which leads us to use who instead, even though it's technically incorrect. One of English's trickiest words is it. The problem with it is that it can function as a pronoun, an adjective and a noun. For example, I have it. It equals pronoun. It is beautiful. It equals adjective, and give me it. It equals noun. Because of its many roles, you can easily mistake it for its, which is actually two separate words, its and its. Its means belonging to it, while its means it is. It's often used at the beginning of a sentence to mean informal contraction or it is such as it's raining outside. Verb tenses, past, present, future. Verbs are a major part of English grammar, and learning how to use them correctly is essential if you want to be considered a good writer. Even experienced writers sometimes mix up verb tenses, though, especially when speaking or using conversational language. It's often a problem with people who speak other languages but are not yet comfortable using English verbs, or who aren't sure when it's okay to break some common rules of English grammar. English verbs don't only change based on tense, but also with how they relate to other verbs and when they are used. Many English speakers mix up present perfect verb tenses, I have brought, with past tense verbs, I brought, which can change or shift meanings. Prepositions. A preposition is a type of word that shows a relationship between two things in a sentence. When used correctly, prepositions can make your writing more interesting and enjoyable. However, using prepositions incorrectly will make your writing more difficult to understand. So it's important you have some understanding of where and how they should be used. For example, you would say I am inside my house but not I am beside my house. However, prepositions are also commonly used when stating time and temperature, such as at noon it was 80 degrees outside. Exercise on conciseness in communications. Conciseness is a key element of good communication. A simple, concise sentence is easier to read and understand than a bloated one. To improve your writing and speech, focus on avoiding empty phrases like and phrases that repeat words, phrases that include needless redundancies, padding in sentences, placing extra words just for emphasis, unnecessary repetitions, and simply being unnecessarily wordy. Exercise on concreteness in communications. Good communications is about speaking clearly, concrete words in place of general abstract words. Being more specific and concrete instead of saying things generally helps people understand you more clearly and quickly. People are busy and won't make an effort to delve into vague language that may not apply to them personally. When you speak with concreteness, you can make a statement in a few words that is much clearer than a general description or explanation would be, without being verbose. It's not only limited to spoken communication but can also apply to written language as well. For example, Filipinos tend to use many general abstract words when writing an email instead of concrete ones. This makes their correspondence longer and more difficult for their readers' brains to process. Exercise on clarity in communications. When communicating in English, avoiding grammatical mistakes is not only critical for making your meaning clear, but also vital in ensuring that you appear credible. Challenge yourself by creating new sentences with improved phrasing and expressions from ordinary conversations. Learn English grammar rules, particularly how to express yourself clearly. The most important aspect of learning a new language, especially one with many complex rules like English, is repetition. Most Filipinos have a hard time communicating clearly and expressing ideas precisely, particularly when speaking in English. Exercise on coordination in communications. By coordinating ideas effectively, you can be sure that your sentence structure and grammar communicates well. In addition to coordinating words with conjunctions, consider how two sentences relate to each other in terms of topic and tone. A simple word change might mean a big difference in how effectively you communicate your message. Exercises on French loan words. English and French have been two major sources of vocabulary for Filipinos, due mostly to its colonial history. A number of French loan words and phrases have found their way into common use. Bon voyage, en route, hors d'oeuvres, en masse, haute couture. In such formal writing situations there are still people who think that certain words or phrases like course or moreover and furthermost should be used instead of more simply out of an idea that they sound fancier.